BoardGameGeek.com is by far the #1 site that anyone who's really interested in board games is going to be frequenting on a regular basis. Not only does it have a complete database of games that covers every game that's ever been published, but it also has commentary from other people who've played those games or have seen those games and what they think, and allows you to kind of form an opinion about games even before you're able to play them yourself.
BoardGameGeek's the website for board games on the internet, so there's a place to know what's coming out, interviews, articles, they go to conventions, they interview people like me to talk about games. They also curate games, they have a physical library and digitally, and they have 70,000 games, that they've archived that people have given comments on and give pictures about and give ratings to.
Users on BoardGameGeek can rate games from 1 to 10, similar to IMDb or other types of databases. And we have a suggested rating system, but you can rate games however you want. And once a game has at least 30 ratings, it's ranked. And we have you can check out the rank for every single game that has at least 30 rankings. And I forget how many are ranked right now, several thousand.
So yeah, Gloomhaven is a tactical dungeon crawler, and it sort of came from the idea of just me playing lots of different dungeon crawlers, which is a genre of game that I really enjoy. But playing those type of games, I always felt like, I don't know, I didn't enjoy them as much as I could have. Like, there was too much like random elements to it with just rolling all these dice, and not enough like meaningful decisions to make. And so I played all these dungeon crawlers, and I just decided, I want to try and make a dungeon crawler that I enjoy. Like, I want to put everything in that I like and take all the stuff that I don't like, and that's sort of where Gloomhaven came from. And it's sort of weird to me that Gloomhaven, not exactly Gloomhaven, but something like Gloomhaven hadn't existed before. Sort of a dungeon crawler that caters more towards that Euro crowd who's interested in like more heavy decision making. You sort of see more of it now. I mean, there are a couple more games sort of coming out that sort of hit that niche, but yeah, at the time, like when it came out, you really didn't see anything like that. And of course, that's not the only innovation. There's lots of other stuff that I'm really proud about in the game, but just that central idea, it's hitting a market that hasn't really been hit yet. I knew from the start that it was going to be popular. I spent so much time in this, and it's sort of, is a game that could reach a wider audience, because it's dungeon crawl, and that's a really popular genre. And I put that work into it. I knew it was a good game. I knew people were going to like it. So I had a feeling that it was going to do significantly better than Forge War on the ratings, but not to the extent that it was, right? It just blew my mind. Like, I knew people were going to like it, but I didn't realize they were going to like it that much. That BoardGameGeek rating is validating to me, because it's sort of been what I've been interacting with for so many years, and to see my game do so well on the site is yeah, it's a good feeling. But just the fact that the game is so popular and there's so many people out there that love it, that's just really validating as well, because I poured my heart and soul into the game for 2 years of full-time work, just developing it and building up that whole world, and then to have that sort of positive response based on that, that's just a really great feeling as well.
It felt at first like some half-brain project that was never going to come to fruition. But when you start showing a game to people and you realize that they enjoy playing it, then you're like, oh, this is for real. This could come together. I didn't know. I had no earthly idea, to be honest. All I could do, and all I did do, is keep working at it until I thought it was fun. And then when it hit that point, I thought, okay, it's good. Let's go. It was hard at first to get people to play test it. I would go to conventions and I would sit there at the demo tables trying to talk people into trying it. But eventually enough people did that it started to get a little buzz within the kind of wargaming community that there was going to be a new card-driven game on the Cold War. But even still, a lot of people were unsure about it. What happened that really made things go crazy is that Alan Moon at The Gathering started raving about it and played it as much as he could at The Gathering. And so that introduced the Euro community to the idea that, oh, this might be a game that applies to both of us. So a lot of Eurogamers tried it, and then we got all the ratings necessary and we started climbing fast. It was exciting, yeah, for sure. I mean, I couldn't, in a certain sense, I couldn't believe it. It's weird because I'm a fanboy more than I am a game designer. I have almost 1,000 games at home. I've been playing all of these guys, and so it was like gratifying and sad at the same time to see one of my games climbing over designs that I had rated #1 or I thought were better than anything else in the universe. So, but it did happen. So the game was #1 on the Geek for about 7 years. Is it fair? Not in some sort of abstract, just sense, perhaps not. But it's true in every other creative endeavor, right? So whether it's music or books or films even, there is a lot more produced than gets popular acclaim. And not everything that gets popular acclaim is that great, and not everything that's ignored is unworthy of attention.
There's a lot of discussions nowadays about just ratings in general, ratings for movies and TV shows, and like, I think that ultimately the rankings of like where a particular game lands, like it's #7 versus #10, like it's so subjective. Like, you may love game #10 more than game #7. You may love game #50 more than game #2, because it's just your style of game.
There are certain games that rise up to the top. There's arguments about rating systems. I'll give it a 10. Well, I'll give it a 1 because you're giving it a 10 because clearly it's a 5.
I think for the most part, those ratings are a true indicator of how well received the game is. And I think it's very important to try to get your game with a high number there. I know that distributors watch that.
And in some ways the ranking helps because distributors and retailers will pay attention to a game's rank and want to have, you know, the top 50 games on their shelves, or we're going to investigate at least the top 500 and see what's appropriate for our customer base.
It's a good metric if you basically say like, oh, this game seems to be getting good ratings, I should look at it. It's not the end all be all, just like anything else. Just because someone rates it a 10 might not be the game for you. But when you get tens of thousands of people voting for something, you tend to get a consensus.
So the rankings are helpful in some ways, a little deceptive in other ways.
It was unreal and it's still very unreal. We knew the game was good and we worked on it for several years, like 5 years, and but we didn't expect to have this kind of success. It feels really unreal, and it has for a long time because the first one, print run, was the largest one we ever had, and it sold out in a blink. So we made a double size print run, and that sold out in a blink too. And then we did another one and another one, and it just continued, and it rose in the rankings, and we are a bit surprised actually that we got like this. We had no idea. This is way bigger than it has ever been before, and yeah, humbled by the success. We are stunned by the success. I think the game has a very unique appeal in several ways. I think because it is scientifically based and it isn't a war game, that appeals to a lot more women than many other games that we have released, at least. It has a good solo mode, which means that many more people are buying it for the solo experience as well. It is varied and balanced and so on, so it has a lot of appeals that on their own I think is not enough, but together it's a winning combination. And we didn't realize this until after we released it and got this success. So I think we got kind of lucky in that respect. It just fell together perfectly. Of course, we follow BoardGameGeek very closely and answer a lot of questions and so on. And we are, as I said, we're just amazed about the ratings and the climbings and so on. Yeah, but it's. I mean, we don't make games to be famous, and we don't make games to make money either. Actually, we make games because we like to make games, and we are in the business because we like others to have fun with our games too. To get this high in the ratings and so on, it's just a wonderful bonus, and we just enjoy it.
I've designed at least a dozen different games, and they've all kind of shown up on different places on BoardGameGeek, and the highest rated one I have is Star Wars Rebellion. That was very briefly number 5 and has slipped down to number 6. And it's amazing to just be like up in the top 100, but to have some people think that this is the 6th best game that was ever made, like that's, I don't know, it's amazing. Anytime that you're recognized for something that you worked on creatively, it can inspire you and it can make you feel good about what you're doing. And so it's nice to see when your game gets a high ranking. There are so many games that exist today, and it's hard to stand out. Like, you need to do something that's unique and special, but you also need to do something that people are going to identify with, and they're going to want to learn more about it and actually sit down and play it. I think that ultimately, to have a big success, it just comes down to creating something that resonates with people, and to create something that people dream about and they say, hey, that's the game that I always wanted. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the same reason why, like, the Beatles were so popular. It's because they resonated with the people in their time.
So Pandemic Legacy is different in a lot of games in that it's got this legacy component, which essentially means that the game evolves. Every time you play it, you make permanent changes to it. So you'll play the first game and you might be ripping up some cards or adding stickers to things. And then you play the second game and all the changes you made in the first game have been applied. And you keep doing that game over game over game. And you end up playing like 16 to 18 games over the course of just one season. We're calling them seasons. And when you're done with that season, then you set that aside, then you can play the next season, and the story continues.
You know, its climb in the rankings was so fast that when it looked like it was going to hit a top 10, you know, we had kind of projected that just by watching it kind of like climb, and it was really unexpected and exciting. When it eventually hit #1, that felt totally unreal. It felt I don't know, it's strange. It just feels like some kind of weird, you know, teenage fantasy. It doesn't seem like something that would actually happen.
With the success of Pandemic, I was getting asked to actually do games, which is very different for me. Before, it was like trying to knock on people's doors and get them to look at my prototypes. But after Pandemic started to take off, I started getting requests, you know, can you do a cooperative game for kids and so on. And so I got these requests, which is gold, but I didn't have a lot of time to work on them. So I had to spend a lot of time in the evenings and on weekends developing games. And I always felt a little bit like I was stealing time from family. So when I was able to gradually shift, it was into full time, just night and day, because now, you know, this is what I do. I can actually spend time sketching and not feel guilty about it, right? I've got time allotted, blocked out to do development, and that's just such a great gift to have that time to work on things.
It's really hard to say how important those rankings are. I mean, I think diehard hobbyists look at it, and maybe people who are really getting into the hobby and discover BoardGameGeek go in there and look, and that might be a discovery vehicle. But I think as the industry as a whole, I don't want to overstate their importance. I mean, there's other games. I mean, you take Quirkle that are like massively popular, but are nowhere on that top 100 list, right? But they're really, really popular. It's just they're more mass market games, and you know, BoardGameGeek is extraordinarily useful as a tool, but it is catering toward the hobbyist.
I'm sure as a designer, if someone gives you a 1, it's hurtful, right? I mean, you put your love and your ego into a game. I always say you gotta have a thick skin, but yeah, I think ratings do matter for designers.
Publishers obviously like to talk about the ranking of their games on BoardGameGeek and where something stands, and it looks impressive as a new game climbs up the ranks.
When you do something creative, there's going to be feedback, and you want it to be good, but it's only one type of feedback from a particular type of group. Like, the highs can get too high, I did this great game, or the lows can be too low, why are people rating it 5? You know, we're creative people. We need the feedback, like that we did a good job. So I think some people value it very highly. I think some people don't value it at all, or say they don't, but I think all designers like to know, all right, this is a pretty good judge of how well I did.